Hello and welcome to Tech Time.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tech Time, the show based on technology and the people that drive it. My name is Ash, and I'll be your guide on this fantastic journey of discovery and enlightenment as we try and smash the shackles of ignorance and bring technology from the darkness into the light. And we always try to have some trendsetters or global leaders in the area on Tech Time over here. And today is no different. We have got Tim from Trend Micro, who is the consumer director for Australia and New Zealand. Good morning, Tim.
Morning, Ash. How are you?
Good. So are you ready to talk about your key findings in the global threat paper that you guys just released?
Oh, yes, definitely. We saw some very interesting things happen in the 2014, which should give some people some ideas of what to do for this year to protect themselves.
So for people that don't know anything about this report, can you just give us a bit of background about that, please, Tim?
Yeah, so each year we run a report to see what's changing in the world of cybersecurity. Because as time goes on, we're finding that the cyber criminals change the way that they try and track us. So we track a whole lot of major indices from how spam's going to malware to malicious URLs, and also to look at the new ways that they're trying to attack us and see what we can do to protect ourselves moving forward in the world.
Okay, so what are your key findings? I'm sure malware would be one of your key findings over there, wouldn't it, Tim?
Yes, definitely malware was one of our key findings. We're finding that's ever-present and probably becoming a bigger issue from 2013 to 14 and what we see going forward into 2015. But I think the key finding is the way it's being delivered. What we actually saw as well, tied into malware, is the amount of malicious URLs that are in Australia. So what this means is we're finding that the way we're getting delivered pieces of malware onto our computers is not so much through emails anymore or downloading something from an attachment, but more importantly, we're going to a website and we're getting hit from the malware from that way, which is something that we've got to be very careful about with the new ways that people are attacking us.
So is this any specific websites that they're doing? So that, are they injecting code into our browser that is then getting executed? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're finding that, for example, in Australia especially, we bat far above the average with leading indices in areas that we don't want to lead in. One of them is banking fraud. So the Australian population has really taken to the internet. We do a lot of online banking and transactions. With that, therefore, comes the point of view that, and I'm sure a lot of us have received it, an email from the NAB Bank, please click on this link to see and check on a transaction, or we want you to verify your account details. And people going to false and deceptive websites which look like they're from the NAB Bank or the ANZ Bank or Commonwealth Bank, etc., and actually are there to particularly download a bit of malware onto your computer to capture what it's doing. So they're using these kind of lures to capture us, and understanding that people are more free in that online era in Australia, and a lot of that's to do with we're a leader in internet online shopping because prices are sometimes cheaper overseas, so we'd like to go and buy overseas. So we've got to be very careful that a lot of the places we're clicking on, it's not like walking into a store in retail where you see the person, you're talking to them, you can see there's a physical shop. We're clicking on sites that sometimes we don't know really where they are and what they are, and through that, these guys are putting a bit of malware onto our computer to steal our data.
And what's the end game for them? We're just talking about criminal activity, aren't we, Tim?
Look, if we go back 20 years when viruses first started coming out, they were more of a nuisance than anything really bad. People were doing it for a bit of fun, whether it be school kids or hackers in a garage in their house. What we're seeing now with cyber activity is these are organised groups. It's almost like organised crime. You hear of the groups like Anonymous, etc. These are very, very targeted attacks. And one thing we saw, which is more prevalent in the small business area, is that there is a large virus called CryptoLocker, which what it does is it gets onto your computer and locks up all your files. What we saw in 2013 was CryptoLocker get really targeted at small businesses in Australia. and people running single operators. And what they would do is ask everyone for $50,000 to unlock the files. They didn't find many people really had the $50,000 to provide. What they did this year, which was a fair bit different, is they would actually figure out how big the business they were attacking was, and therefore they would ask some businesses for $10,000, some for $20,000, some for $50,000, maybe some even for only $5,000. So they're getting far more targeted in what they're doing, but they're there for one thing and one thing only. It's no longer to be a nuisance. They're trying to make money out of this, and they know what they're doing, and they're becoming far smarter with how people are responding to that.
That sounds almost like social engineering there, doesn't it, Tim?
Well, then this is the next level that we're seeing, which is what we term social engineering. So a lot of these lures are they're coming in through backdoors and targeting us or through websites. Social engineering is a whole new level. Back in the days, to get our news, we'd either watch the TV or we'd go and buy a newspaper. Now what we do is we see a story developing, and all our friends are posting links on Facebook or any other social engineering website like Twitter. And we just click on the link because we have a desire to know what's going on in the world. And it's very, very simple. Oh, I want to have a little bit of information to my friends. So I'll click here, and I'll go and do this. But what's happening is that instead of when you would open up to get news, you'd know that I've gone to SydneyMorningHerald.com or the Australian or Financial Review or Nine Network. We're clicking on links to websites that we have no idea about. And once again, those websites are doing something, and that's delivering a package onto our computer to do some sort of damage. Some of the things we saw last year that were very, very large were the Soccer World Cup, where they used that to actually get people's attention, click on a link and deliver the malware download. And they're very, very fast. So things like the Malaysian Airlines disasters last year, we saw a huge spike in social engineering lures to take you to bad sites and therefore to deliver the payload. So, we really do warn people to be very careful that, yes, we want to be connected 24/7, but with social engineering and our desire just to click on anything and not check where it's going, we're getting delivered these bits of malware more than ever.
So just for Joe Average sitting there watching this on YouTube or getting the podcast of this, so how would you know? So I love my soccer, I love the World Cup, and I click on a link. I mean, just innocuously, what happens then? I mean, how am I protected? How can I protect myself?
Well, we would first recommend, for example, if you're trying to get the latest news, you can download the apps from the official website. So from a point of view that if you were looking at the World Cup of cricket that's on right now as an example, if you wanted the latest news, you could go to the Sydney Morning Herald or the Age app that you get on your phones. You could also go and download the ICC's official app to get the information that's there. But if you see something that's in your news feed, if you don't recognise where it's from, just be careful about what you're doing with it. Because what they've figured out is that as spam filters are getting better and everything else is getting better to protect us, that the way that they need to deliver these viruses is by getting us to click first to somewhere else where we don't maybe have as much protection. And it's because we just like to click on the internet, and we think we can open up many, many browsers. This is how we're getting through it. So, the bottom line of defence and the best defence is just to be vigilant. It's like the old story that there may be a prince in Africa, but there's probably not a prince who wants to give you $60 million.
Well, that's an interesting point you made, that the software is getting smarter, but we don't seem to be getting as smart as well.
Yeah, and I'd like to, so one thing I say to people when they ask me what to do is think about it from the point of view that if you were actually going out to look for the news or to buy a bit of software, you'd actually go into a store, you'd check it out, and you make yourself feel comfortable about it. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean that everything is good. So once again, don't just go to any old website. Try and find out about it. There's Whirlpool forums that you can go and check onto to find out the true sites and where the best places are to go and get stuff from. So we're not trying to scare people from ever doing something on there, but the same way that we don't just go and buy a car from anyone, we go and check it out first and we try and go to a dealer. Well, same if you're buying a bit of software, think about that on the internet. One of the scariest stats that we see is the amount of people who download apps onto their mobile devices, and just because it's free, they think it's okay. In reality, these free apps still cost money to produce, and these people still need to make money to live. And you've got to question how they're doing it. And if they're giving their apps away for free all the time, then they must be taking their money in some other way, and you need to try and be careful of that and figure out how it's happening.
Yeah, yeah, because you could be the money-making part of of their business.
Yes.
Yeah. So what for you guys? What's the top social engineering tricks that they're using to get us to click on stuff? Is it just these the world events and stuff?
Look, a lot of it's world events or breaking news. It can be anything from a natural disaster. Like the ones we're worried about this year is you've got the World Cup of Cricket on right at the moment. You've also got the Rugby Union World Cup on later this year. In between that, Kate Middleton will have a baby, and everyone will want to click on and see the latest photo of the new prince or princess. You'll have disasters that come up. And all these kind of things. It's wherever there's a thing where there's a news story trending that's very, very quick and people just want to find out the latest and greatest news. And that's a lot of what they try and do. Or if there's a bit of software being launched, like Windows 10 later this year may lead to a few different social engineering lures out there to try and get people just to click on stuff to see where it was. A massive one last year as well, which I forgot to mention earlier, was the iPhone 6. People want to click on that and find out where to buy it the cheapest. So it's all this kind of stuff that when you've got something quick and you're just trying to be quick and fast, you've just got to be careful and sort of slow yourself down a bit and say, hey, do I know this site that I'm going to? Last year in Europe, we haven't seen this in Australia, but we did see it in Europe. We saw the first virus that actually cracks the two-vector authentication for banking. So with your bank now, when you do a lot of funds transfer, you can set it up that if you want to do a funds transfer or make a new kind of transaction, it will send a code to your mobile phone for you to plug in that code and verify that it's really you that are doing it. There was a bit of malware developed in Europe that got loaded onto your computer and actually gave them the ability over some time when they viewed your habits to actually crack into that two-vector authentication. So therefore, you could get around it. That bit of malware that got delivered onto your computer did its work within 18 seconds and was deleted and off your computer within 21 seconds. That's how fast and furious they are there. So we've just got to be really, really careful about what we're doing.
So what happens if your machine is compromised in a situation like that, Tim? What do you do? You rebuild your machine? Do you call, give you a call personally and say, help me, please?
Look. In that particular case, I don't want to sort of give away what it is. I don't want to give anyone out there any ideas. But it was quite a simple thing that you could actually reverse. Something like a crypto locker where it's encrypting your files, they have no intention of ever unlocking that. That is, unfortunately, a system rebuild. And, this is where we recommend people do have a backup so you can load your files back onto your computer. Like we see a lot of people now taking a lot of photos from the selfie to your digital camera and storing it. And where we used to print them out and have them in albums, we've now just got them sitting on one hard drive. And we definitely recommend you have them sitting, you at least have two copies and on different things. Don't just make two copies on your computer. Make one on your computer and one on a backup hard drive, so you do that. But in a case with a lot of these viruses, what we definitely recommend is just, be careful about the website you're going to, but two, it really is, and with the speed that they are developing, we do recommend having a level of security software. These guys are becoming far, far more sinister. And back 4 or 5 years ago, where a lot of it was delivered via spam, which the one bright bit of news that we saw in our results from last year is that spam decreased, but you're talking still about 150 million pieces of spam in a year. So the decrease of 1 or 2% is very, very minor. Where spam you could actually think about before you clicked on, the only way to do this these days is to actually have a good level of security protection sort of inbuilt or loaded onto your computer. And there's a lot of free versions out there that give antivirus, and that's a very, very important first step. But with all the social engineering lures now and the malware content, having a true internet security package from a reputable vendor will help protect you from a lot of this.
Well, it minimizes the risk. I know occasionally I click on something and my Train Micro software would come up and say, this site is unsecure, or do you really want to go to this site? This site is known to us. So that just gives you, let me just rethink about what I'm doing here now.
Yes, definitely. So one of the things our software does, and it's now integrated into both Facebook and Twitter, that we will highlight any link that we know to be malicious and therefore warn you not to do it. And we'll have 3 colors, which is like traffic lights, red, yellow, and green. Green naturally is is a good site. We haven't had any issues with it. Red is a known bad site. And an orange is a site that we haven't tested yet. And if you're a little bit worried about it, you can actually right-click on that and we'll go away and test it for you. And it's one of the ways that we've built it. So, yeah, as I mentioned before, a lot of people have some level of free antivirus on their computer. And this is good. But with a lot of the viruses being delivered by the internet, you need one of these active security solutions. And our solution at the moment is blocking in the order of over 250 million threats a day that we see going through to our customers. And through the network that we've built, the Smart Protection Network, which virtually links everyone in a global community. So therefore, if you find a virus and it's identified on your computer, within 5 minutes globally, we can shut that off with anyone else's computer going to that website and warn them that this is not a good website. And it's one of the tools that we've spent and we've built over the last 5-6 years to really drive us forward into this new world and the way that viruses are being delivered.
So as far as the criminal aspect of it, has any big scalps been taken down recently?
Look, there's always big scalps being taken down, but the true masterminds are quite hard to find because they can just be anywhere in the world. Like some of the recent ones, and unfortunately, we can't talk about a lot of what we do. We work very heavily with Interpol to help protect the world, but naturally, when you get into corporations, we don't talk a lot about what security they're running and how we've caught the criminals, not to give the next criminal an understanding of, hey, they got caught that way, let me try a different way to get in there. So, a lot of what we do is there's a level of secrecy there, not trying to hide it away. But, you get the people that get caught very, very quickly. I think one of the most interesting issues of last year was the iPhone hack, which hurt a lot of people in Australia. Yeah. And what happened there is everyone thought that Apple had been hacked, and it had nothing to do with Apple. Another website had been hacked from, whether it be your email address got stolen from Target, who got hacked last year, Kmart, Neiman Marcus, or any one of those other big corporations. And in the hacking of that email address, they got your corporation, they got your email address and the password you used. And we find that a lot of people use the same email address and password on all the online accounts that they have in the internet. So when one gets compromised, they use it to go and lock into another one. So with the Apple iCloud attack, they actually proved that the people who had their phones locked, the person came in with a legitimate email address and password. So therefore, their information had been stolen. And then later in the year, through some research with a conglomerate that got together to help out, you found the Russian criminal gang that had over 1 billion email addresses and passwords set up that they were willing to sell to people globally. So you've just got to be a little bit, vigilant with what you do. You definitely, one of the things we see where people are really opening themselves up to is that on average people have 26 to 30 accounts on the internet, but only 3 to 5 passwords. And one of the passwords they do keep safe is their online banking. That really will generally be a different one. But a lot of people use the same password across virtually everything they do. And as soon as one thing gets hacked, then other things do. And unfortunately, with the toughening and the cracking down on internet laws and all the rest of it, it is going well. But the one thing that there is no defined legislation on is how long a corporation, between when they get hacked to when they know about it to when they inform the user, that delay could be 2-3 months. So they may get hacked in January but not tell the market until April. And for 3 months, you're potentially exposed out there in the marketplace. So it's one area we'd like to see a tightening of legislation on.
Yeah, because, it's a major embarrassment for most companies anyway if they get caught like that. It's not something they want to come out in public and say as well.
Oh, look, and we do understand from their point of view that the other thing that they want to do is make sure that they plug the hole before, and they let other people know how to plug the hole before they go and tell people in the marketplace that they've been hacked. But yes, you do definitely need to, we need to ensure that people are safe. But, the best thing we can also offer to people is to use a level or some form of password manager out there in the market, because you just be very, very careful with what you do out there.
Okay, so before we let you go then, when is this report going to be released and where can I find it?
It's released now. It's available on our website, trendmicro.com.au, and it's there for the downloading. A lot of technical information in there, which we're always happy to explain to people. But, mainly, at the end of the day, what we're warning people out there is just remember that your best defence against cyber criminals is yourself, is to be vigilant. But also, in the world that we are today, just understand that the way that it's developing and moving is increasing in speed, and the use of an internet security as a protection is actually a wise choice to make in this world, because it'll just keep you informed and try and keep you half the step ahead. Like in the world that's out there, there are so many people they can attack, and if you make yourself just a little bit harder, they'll move on and go to the next person, and that's what we need to try and do.
Very well said, Tim. That's always I always say that, especially with your wireless stuff or anything like. Just make it a little harder so they'll go next door or down the road somewhere else. So you're not the easiest person on the block to crack.
Correct.
Okay, look, thank you for your time there, Tim. We really appreciate that. If you can just plug that website again for us, please.
Yeah, our website is www.trendmicro.com.au, and you'll be able to find all the information we have there.
All right, no worries, and we'll see you next time on Tech Time. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.